since last week when we were all having a great time in the hellhole that is known as Richmond, Virginia. I hope you guys missed us because we definitely didn't miss doing this show. You know, so the Yankee can't make any judgments on any southern city, regardless of how bad it is. Oh well, all right. I guess I retract my statement. Either way, this is Pony Express Radio, the greatest in slop infotainment. I mean, it's been a week. What's really happened? Probably nothing, but we'll look into it for you guys. Do we normally introduce everybody before we do the ad reads, or what? Like, what? Am I just doing the ad reads? Yeah, I'm just gonna read the cards. All right. Alp, nicotine, pouches. They screw up your gums just like all the rest of them. But man, they get my heart rate up and my brain is nootropified, so I'm all ready to go all the time. It's good stuff. Use the link in the description because we get some shekels thrown our way for every purchase you make through that link. We appreciate that. Speaking of things that nootropify, Fox and Sons coffee. It's actually really solid coffee. Highly recommended. Link in the description. OGC is the code at checkout. Get yourself some money off and some money our way. Always good stuff. Axios Fitness. It's 90 degrees up in the Northeast this week, so summer is here, boys. But it's never too late. Start sculpting that body. Get a personal fitness program for your body and all the things that are messed up with it from our buddy JD. And when you get fit, you can buy an MS Vendrillo suit, the finest in American menswear. The American Imperium line, 100% sourced and built, constructed in America by hand. That's American wool, that's American spinners, that's American cutters, everything you want in a suit. MS Vendrillo and Co. in the link in the description. And finally, but certainly not the least of them, Tall Men Books, our good friend George Bagby, bringing back those things that should never have been forgotten. So if you want education in the choicest of American literature, Tall Men Books, link in the description. We'll be glad that our listeners are smarter than the average right-wing retard. So joining us this evening on this episode of Pony Express Radio is Charlemagne. How are you, sir? No, I guess he walked away while I was doing the ad read. Very unprofessional. That's fine. Our other lunatic from Louisiana, Christopher Sandbatch. Welcome back, sir. Amazing. I mean, that was a nice little diatribe. I appreciate that. I like that the blending of former right wing congressmen and left wing talking points from a year ago is finally coming to a head. That's but things just keep getting more interesting. Raging Mandrill is back again. How are you, sir?
Passably well, hanging in there, I suppose.
Well, I mean, that's better than bad. So I'm glad that we got you while you're still hanging in there and not just bad. Now, before we move on, I do want to see Charlemagne. Are you back?
Yeah, I've been here the whole time. I've just been jiggling this stupid USB cord in my port. It's like loose or something. I don't know if it's the port or if it's the stupid cable. God, I hate this Yeti microphone.
Yeah, man. I hear Kegels is a good way to help with the ports, so I'm glad that you brought this problem to us. But anyway, how are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. I'm glad to be out of Richmond. That's for sure. That's easily second worst place I've ever been. Only second worst because I've been to London before.
Damn. Virginia's not. Virginia
I'm not joking
is
either. Fuck that place. Like I'm never going back there again in my entire life.
Look, you have
not
to
Virginia, Richmond specifically.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, I mean, what happens is we were I think all of us except Mandrill we're in Richmond this weekend. We got kicked out of 2 bars with friend of the club, Thomas 77. And he wasn't doing nothing wrong. But that wasn't the only thing. You remember that breakfast place we went to, and I don't even know what that was. That was harassment architecture.
You've already undersold it. The story was Thomas 777 got us kicked out of 2 separate bars. That was it. That's all you had to.
Wait, are we not audible on the stream, or are these assholes in the chat lying?
What happened?
Okay, then shut up. We're audible. Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll get to the Richmond antics towards the end of the show. When we can talk about things we actually want to talk about. Our first topic, and I don't really know what this is. So AIPAC, good policy, good politics. And what we can see is Kentucky getting zogged, absolutely zogged. And this guy, what's his name? Gellerin, former Navy SEAL. The boomers love him, boys. I guess this is the most money ever spent in a congressional race in Kentucky.
In a House primary.
In a House primary.
Kentucky is the middle of nowhere. That's like it's like you'll never leave Harlan alive. I mean, I no disrespect to my friends from Kentucky, but like this is not an important district,
So then what is this? Is this just AIPAC flexing, being like, listen, if you don't toe the line, we're going to spend an outrageous amount of money on getting one of our guys in there with a bunch of smears and out of context? All right, real quick before we get on the why. Massey was on Tucker, and he was talking about how one of the smears that they brought out against him was an AI video of him like holding hands and skipping and dancing with the squad. Now, I believe that he said that it said like this is an AI generated video in small print, but every single boomer who saw that absolutely believed that was real.
Yeah, and speaking of boomers, actually, so there's another angle to this as well, which is that Galrein is apparently born in 1958, so he's a literal boomer. Right, and then Massey's a little younger than that. He's, I think, technically Gen X. So there's been a very crucial tamp down from the usual suspects, and then what is the one segment of the population that can rely on still, which is obviously the boomers, right? It's why I keep saying that Iran is just like COVID. It's literally just that all over again.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the neocons trying to come back and reassert their dominance for one last election cycle that they can gloriously lose and really fulfill their purpose as the outer party. But I can't help but wonder if this isn't going to, they keep building up this pressure. The neocons showing that they won't allow any of the younger guys in, or any of the guys who aren't okay with Israel first politics, if this isn't going to have a serious blowback in the 2030s.
Yeah, there's just a good point being made there. This dude was born in 1958. How are we still sending new boomers to Congress? Like, not already existing boomers in Congress. How are we sending new boomers to Congress? How is that happening? You know?
Yeah, it's like they're just churning them out of a vat somewhere, out of a lab, already pre-aged.
The Wuhan Institute for Boomology.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at this point. If you told me that they had a bunch of clones of like the boomer, like the very first male boomer who was ever born, they just took his DNA and started cloning him. You know, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, that's just the way it goes. But again, here we can see Israel first, always winning with Jews, you win. So we kind of blew past this question, but what do you guys think is the purpose for this? Why would they dump nearly 16 million into a meaningless congressional race?
Well, it's clearly personal. There's no other explanation. They specifically, the people with the power to direct this amount of money at this guy, wanted to personally destroy him. At least one of those people is obviously Donald Trump. We know that for sure. And because of what Massey has been saying, much less what he's been doing in Congress, but what he's been saying on podcasts like Tucker Carlson and on Twitter, etc., has pissed people off, and they personally decided to ruin him.
You know, I mean, that's certainly like, I don't know that you can win, that you can conspire with just one dimension, one axis of convergence on overspending this much by nakedly foreign powers to sway a relatively minor American election. There needs to be some structural reason underneath it, and I'm pretty sure I know what it is. It's clear. One of the things that gets under discussed, but it's actually really happening, is that the whole October 7th thing and everything like that. The Jewish donor class is attempting to move entirely into the Republican Party because of the way Democrats reacted to October 7th. That's more or less a structural reality. And getting rid of somebody like Massey is very important because he is an openly, Israel skeptic, relatively senior member of the House of Representatives. So, I mean, you can see overspending on getting rid of him structurally also as like clearing out the flies that are clearing out the blockers that are standing between, a total Jewish shift into the Republican Party.
This is actually a really good point. And, we've seen other examples of this pattern before where the Jewish money is, in fact, trying to leave the Democratic Party and muscle its way into the Republican Party. Now, obviously, there's been significant spending on both sides, but they're going all in on the GOP now. And for that reason, it is exceptionally important for people not to fall for this, with Jews you win, with Zionists you win crap, because the situation that Zog finds itself in now is that it can no longer rule through the inner party, the Democrats, in a direct way because they are unwelcome there because of the October 7th issue. However, they're not being pushed out of the Republican Party sufficiently because of their integration with Trump and his version of the party. And it's really important that Jewish money feels unwelcome in the party. And clearly that's not the case yet because they're able to spend the money they have to get people like Massey who are going to be problems in the future. What they're trying to do, I think, according, basically going off the analysis you gave, is basically buy out these elections where they can right now and get rid of these people who are going to be a problem before Massey can actually build like a block or something around him. Right now, he's just one guy.
I mean, it's actually so petty that it's because I don't know if you ever spend time, like there was like, I saw a clip yesterday that Hugh Lewitt, or whatever that fucking, Hugh something. Yeah, I think it was Lewitt. He's Jewish. He's talking about how some character would be a great. This is where I glean this from. I'm listening to him talk about. Well, I have some other sources that I can't reveal, but I'm listening to him talk, and he's talking about putting a temple observant Jew on the Supreme Court, and what a good gesture to the Jewish community that would be, and how, like, getting a good Jew up there would be great for Republican GOP, Republican Jewish GOP donors, and it would aid the transition, was the phrase that was used. And I was like, oh, okay, so that really is happening. And at that point, like, it's like literally, it's like $14 million. It's a lot of money on a Congress race, but it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. And so it like literally ends up just being like this diplomatic gift that the colonial satrapy of the Trump administration gives to the visiting Jewish overlord. It's like, okay, here's the head of Thomas Massey, as a gift from me to you. Now come over to our side. So that's really how I read it. That's all. A lot of people I see, they'll talk about how, like, oh, Massey had an outsized online following, and it made this seem like this wasn't. But I mean, you have to remember, I don't buy that, because he's an established member of Congress. Like, congressional incumbency advantage is like 85% of incumbents win. Once you get elected, if you just adequately represent your district, you're difficult to beat and very difficult to primary with someone who's like got these baseline issues, this pro-Israel shit that's so actually controversial now. It's like you can in fact just buy elections, and that's very clearly what's happened. I don't care. Like Massey was pretty popular in his district until like a lot of money flew in and started convincing people otherwise. So like, get out of here. You just watched a foreign power purchase an American election with the blessing of the sitting president. Is essentially what happened. So like, I don't see another way to look at that one.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting, I mean, I'm with our good friend Thomas 777 when he says that there hasn't been a legitimate election in the United States in like 100 years. And, there's the same mail-in voting chicanery that's going on here, apparently. Gallerin at the last minute got the mail-in votes that he needed to put him over the line, or some nonsense like that. Which, if this kind of moneyed class is switching sides and they've already got these this infrastructure to fudge the elections, why not just turn it on in a case like this, especially with something like Polymarket under their control, because with the mainstream media no longer serving as a consensus building apparatus for the young, they turn to Polymarket, which is essentially exactly that. We understand that polls don't reflect consensus. They manufacture it, and now polls have basically just become Polymarket bets for like the younger generations, which is a really smart move.
It's a smart move. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I actually think Polymarket bets are pretty good at consensus, at sentiment analysis, with a certain caveat, and that's the capitalization of the market. Like, it has to be a really thick ordered book. Otherwise, relatively small amounts of money can manipulate it. You know what I mean? And like, I've been looking at these congressional markets, and they're all what I would call very thin markets. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not actually a lot of money changing hands on them. So there's not a lot of money in the market. So, relatively little money can swing it one way or the other. And so, yeah, I would definitely be careful about, how you incorporate Polymarket betting lines into your political predictions. I'm gonna say don't do it. I'm just saying, like, take into account how thin the market is,
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes sense, but most people don't look at how much money is actually on anything. The media and Twitter will report, or like TikTok or Instagram will report, like, oh, Polymarket is this, and people just see lines on a graph, and that's enough for them. So I mean, it's not it. I don't know if the small amount of money is really as important as the lines.
Yeah, right.
To the average voter. But before we moved on from this this really gay and largely inconsequential topic, I wanted to ask about what you guys thought about the long-term goal or the long-term plan for these people are, right? So if you're saying, this moneyed donor class is moving from the Democrat Party because they basically got kicked out after October 7th to the Republican Party, it's not like right-wing youth is any more, thrilled about the Israel lobby than the Democrat youth are. And I think it was the hilariously named Jonathan Greenblatt and Netanyahu both who said, they have a generational problem. So, this kind of naked, code switching from this donor class, it seems to be nothing more than a kind of short-term balm. What do you guys think they're going to do to try to, I mean, they've already purchased TikTok, right? But besides that, how do you think they're going to try and sway this generational problem?
I don't know, but I know what they're going to try and do is just purchase over the top of it, just outright buy it for as long as they can, because there is no structural solution to that. That's always the only group of people left in America that's pro-Israel are people who are either receiving money directly from Israel or people whose tax share is being shackled directly to the Israel issue. That's it.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll see how this whole thing shakes out over the next, what year is it? Over the next 2 years. But it'll be interesting to see. You guys got anything else on this this topic? All right.
No one really wins here. I mean, in terms of Heritage America, this is just complete loss. AIPAC purchased an election, forward power. There you go. Whatever you think of Thomas Massey, I mean, there's no way of looking at this where this is a win for Americans.
Yeah, I mean, if there is a silver lining, is that it's just another small piece of evidence on top of a mountain that's been looming over us for the last 60 years about who's really running this this show. So anyway, moving on to look at this. The Haaretz talking about the most consequential primary for Israel. Now, how about that? We're still on the same topic. So Haaretz apparently really, really cared about this this primary. Did anyone bother to read this article?
Of course not. It's an article from Haaretz. I'm going to read that. There's a limit to my self-torture.
Now, nobody believes that, Sandy. But I appreciate you being discerning in where that torture comes from. Yeah, I mean, so you don't even really have to read it, right? Like, Israel bought the primary. They're really happy that they bought it, and apparently for them, this is a very big deal. Again, I think this is going to kind of backfire from them. But one of the people in the chat, actually one of the super chats, I guess we'll get to later, so we'll answer it now and read it later. It was Gelleran's victory party. We got that video. There we go. So, yeah. You might notice quite a lot of gray hair in there. There are some oddly shaped young people in there as well, but for the most part, this is exactly what you would expect.
Standard mix of like GOP insider gays. Yeah, pretty normal. Look at all the sneakers. Jesus.
Yeah, that's particularly egregious. Like, guys, I mean, come on. Like, you don't have to put on a tux, but at least give like you were planning on leaving the house that day.
They just answered a Facebook. They've answered a Facebook post at like 6:15. Victory party for Massey. There's a fucking buffet.
Yeah, cash bar though. They gotta be very tight about where they send their money. All right. Now we're actually moving on from this topic. Ken Paxton. Can someone give us a rundown on Ken Paxton? Was this Texas?
Yeah, Ken Paxton's the crazy attorney general in Texas.
So does he remain the attorney general in Texas?
Yeah, he's running for Senate. So like he's the John Cornyn. He's the establishment candidate opposition. But he's a little more interesting because like Texas is a state where state politics matters. It's weird when somebody makes the jump from state politics over to the national delegation. And there's a lot of people in Texas, and Paxton is a very colorful character. So it's an interesting race, you know.
So what makes him crazy?
I mean, he says crazy stuff, like crazy Texas person stuff. I don't think it's crazy. I understand it, but from an external perspective, he seems like he's kind of a nut. He's a right-wing nut. So I mean, he's definitely the good guy here, you know.
Well, that's good. That's good. So we got zogged in Kentucky, and did we get anti-zogged or just slightly less zogged?
Probably just slightly less zogged. I mean, it is also true that Ken Paxton has done essentially nothing about like various Asian peoples erecting monumental religious architecture to their pagan deities, like on the soil of Texas. So like there's always so much you can hope for out of there, but like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, this is great and everything, but like there's like a 235-foot statue to Ishtar in Sugarland and that sort of thing. It's like, I don't know, what do you want me to really think here, man?
Yeah, I'm glad that we can get this guy in the Senate so he can also do nothing to stop the invasion. But you know, it's just politics, baby. It's all who can grab the bag.
I talked about this with Pete the other night, or with Pete yesterday, and I was just like, it was this like the most blackpilling Substack essay I've ever read. Well, not ever read, but the most blackpilling on the subject of politics I've read in a long time. It was just like the reason nothing ever happens on immigration, and then it pointed out the size of the like the Torta caucus and the Cuban dissidents that are like 45-year-old women, like Republican women with like skull necklaces that are like, you know, their name is like Maria Frederica Dominosa, and they're like running some border district, and they're just like nominally Republican. They always flip on the subject of immigration. So there's like it's like big enough caucuses to stop pretty much anything from happening in the Republican Party. So it's like, yeah, who cares? All right, yeah, Ken Paxton, go be senator.
I mean, this is a good thing, right? Like, when we had DE on last month, we were mentioning that the federal government was very swiftly losing legitimacy, and I think that every time there's a race, and it's just okay, is this guy like hyper zogged or just slightly zogged? Are they actually going to do anything to stop the border enforcement? Anybody who's, I guess, older than 30 is kind of by default like looking at this being like, yeah, I mean, come on, like we've been living with this our entire lives. Nothing has changed. We got some window dressing with Donald Trump, and he does flashy things. He jangles the keys, but you know, there's a lot of sound and fury signifying very little.
You know, one of the interesting things about what you just said there is Trump has been around for like in politics for like 11 years now. And how many congressmen or senators are there in the legislative branch that are even remotely like at his level, just in terms of their stated policies or something. Like there's literally zero Trump senators or congressmen. It kind of shows that for all of Trump's campaigning and bluster and whatnot, he's basically not penetrated into the machine of the legislative apparatus at all. That's why I've insisted recently that there's no such thing as like a Trump coalition. There's literally no one in the Congress who's like Trump's guy or has done anything more other than like ape a few like talking points off of him or something. The Congress is exactly what it was before, which is just a budget resolution passing mechanism, and it doesn't legislate. You basically can't tell the difference between the Congress now and the Congress 20 years ago. It's like this exact same Congress. In some cases, it's literally the same people.
Yeah, that's a good point. Pretty much everything that gets done these days is either by executive action, which only lasts 4 years, 8 at most, or I mean, in the case of our current administration, some of Biden's crazier executive orders are still in effect. So it's and then legislating from the bench out of the Supreme Court, and Congress is just there to make a lot of noise and a lot of money on their insider trading, which is I think it's absolutely hilarious. But I guess I've turned the corner on being a cynic. Nobody talks about Clown World anymore. Why is that?
That's so true. I don't even mind the congressional like insider trading. That doesn't bother me all that much. I'm like, they only make $137,000 a year. Maybe if we paid them more, they might do something. I don't know. Whatever. Go to Congress, insider trade, have fun.
Either way, this is one of the reasons I don't take seriously basically any interest in the federal Congress, because what is the point of the thing? There's no reason for anyone to be looking at the Congress on the Capitol Hill and being like, yeah, this is an important institution that we need to like get the right guy elected in or something. Whether or not you think that means like getting rid of Massey, keeping Massey or like anyone, even the most like Trump aligned legislators have been people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who isn't even unique herself. I mean, there's always one or two like kind of kooky congressmen, who get kind of weird. So even that isn't like particularly different. I mean, the fact that there's really no observable difference between the Congress now and the Congress 20 years ago or even 30 years ago just sort of tells you everything you need to know about how deep MAGA has like penetrated into this thing as some sort of ideology, and also more importantly, whether or not this thing matters. Like, I don't even care whether or not Massey was elected or not. In fact, I think it's probably better that he was removed because of the message it sends via vis-a-vis the foreign buying of elections. And also it just sort of removes this chicken that the Trump administration's been casting its sins into. Now they have one less excuse for how they're, totally failing, basically. But it's like, why do you care about this thing? It's clearly worthless, and it's not a serious institution. It only exists to facilitate the smooth transfer of enormous amounts of money between private or NGO enterprises, and that's it. The Congress is nothing more than a clearinghouse.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I recorded with our brother Skylos last week for his Chaining Egregores, talking about the metaphysics of dress, and one of the things I mentioned in that is the masses will ape the style of the people that they think are in power, the people that they think have power, and no one in the mass apes the style of congressmen. They don't wear suits. They don't wear like the women, like hot chicks, don't go around wearing like nice blouses and whatever pantsuits or whatever. And the chuds or the chads, whatever, they don't go around dressed in suits. They basically, the masses kind kind of dress like either bankers or blacks, like black rappers, because nobody respects the power supposedly of the people in Congress. So it's like, this fading vestigial organization that, like you say, Charlie, is a clearinghouse for private funds through the public sector. And just, if they can, twist the knife on Heritage America while they're doing it, all the better for them. Anyway, so I said we'd save this for last, and I was made a liar. But we're going to talk about our fun times in Richmond, Virginia. Here is a photo that definitely makes Richmond look a hell of a lot nicer than it really is. But yeah, I mean, we were there, for about 3 days, 4 days, and it's like Charlie said, it's the only city I've ever been to where I've left being like, man, I'm really glad I never have to go back there.
Yeah. Oh man, you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I lived briefly in Richmond, but the only thing I can really say is that it's like not even the third or fourth coolest city in Virginia, and that says a lot about a place when its capital city is not the first or second coolest place that's there. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna go, oh, what are the cool cities in Virginia? You pretty much got to land on Alexandria first, and then like, God, Charlottesville is cooler than Richmond. Like it's like Alexandria, Harrisonburg, Lynchburg. There's way cooler places. Richmond is always, it's a kind of embarrassing. Rich as a Southerner, I'm saying as a Southerner, Richmond has always underwhelmed. It's always been. It has never been quite so disappointing, though. Just a kind of a dumpy place that. I don't know what to say, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was my first time there, and I make mention of this, but I'm in New York City, and going from New York City, where there are people everywhere all the time, to Richmond, where I get it's the layout of a city. It's in grids. There are skyscrapers. There's like, shops on top, shops underneath a bunch of apartments. Like it's got all the things that a city has, but there are no people. It's like
even
right
at
in my
night
uncanny valley.
when we had retreated to our rooftop fortress because of the hostility of the environment, you couldn't even like hear anything. Normally, like multiple stories up outdoors, you'd like hear the sounds of the city, but it was just like dead quiet basically the whole night. Which was nice, but it was also weird because we were all the way downtown, like absolute city center, where you'd expect some hustle and bustle, and whether or not it was the middle of the day or at night, weekday, weekend, there was just like nobody doing anything anywhere, and yet it was utterly hostile to us. Thomas talked about this on his Thomas TV show with Pete, sort of going through the whole thing. But even before, we were unceremoniously not kicked out is like a strong word, because like we just sort of left because of their stated preference of that they didn't like our friend. Basically,
yeah, we Thomas was asked to leave.
He wasn't even asked to leave. Like he was just cut off. Right? It's like, we're not going to serve you anymore. So we're like, okay, you're not going to serve our friend. Like, fuck you, we're leaving. But yeah, even before that, it was weird how unwelcoming the place was, and I think it is actually because of the way we looked. We were walking around in our, mostly slick Vendrillo suits the whole time. And from what we gathered, I mean, people did not like a bunch of respectable looking white men walking around. Even that breakfast place we ate at, it's like the service was just not, it seemed like they didn't want us there. In fact, the only people who were really nice to us the entire time were the local blacks. Some of whom were
is
fans
true,
of the Third Reich, even.
I mean, I will point out, because there is Richmond, there's a lot of old money white people there. They're really they don't go out in public a lot. You know, it's like it's kind of a Southern thing. It's always, you know, the really wealthy people. It's all happening behind closed doors, and the public spaces in particular are surrendered totally to hicklibs. And so, like, not only did they not really want us there, but we were also sort of like serving like the dudes that used to shove them in lockers in high schools, and it's rough. It's rough.
No, I mean it makes sense. I mean, I did have a first. I've never actually spoken to anybody whose body was rotting as I was speaking to them. That was a new experience for me. But no, I mean, Thomas makes a very good point that it's places like this where battle lines will be drawn, and in that kind of I don't know if that's, I don't want to say that's hyperbolic language, because we're heading towards the 2030s. I believe are going to be very, very dark and very bloody. But places like Richmond, where it is, as you say, the hicklib, these kind of underachieving millennials and the people who will soon be graduating from the local universities and never leaving, just sticking around the service jobs and staying in the industry until they're too old to get high anymore. Yeah, I mean it's going to be
so dark. There's like cut off the Bruce Springsteen album Nebraska.
I've never been to Nebraska, but I imagine it's a little bit better at least than Richmond.
No, and I was to point out that, like, okay, so there are some other cities that I've been to, because I get around a lot, and I get around to Middle American cities, and I especially get around really well to Middle American cities and South, and so I've been to all of them, and I go to all of them with some frequency, but Richmond to me has always, because like Little Rock has the same problem where there's just not any people there. It's like you're in Little Rock, it's like, what the hell? There doesn't appear to be, but the people who are there are pretty friendly. Richmond is special in that it's sort of proximal to a lot of what you call blue power. It is a blue state technically. Richmond is probably, I mean, it's a blue state technically, and they do feel totally surrounded on all sides with the hicks in the countryside, who are absolutely the highest IQ hicks and the richest hicks, and they are absolutely set against the Richmond set. So it's like you kind of get a similar thing in Austin, except there's not. If there were more people in Austin that were from Austin, you would kind of get the same vibe there. Except there's lots of people in Austin. There's enough people. Austin's over 1 million people now, but like Austin's another place where you get this kind of similar thing where it's like this besieged blue dot in the surrounded by this like hostile countryside, and then they get mimetically very intently focused on like proving their worth in the blue coalition, and it produces a really disoriented brand of shitlib that is very difficult to deal with.
No, I think this makes sense in the same way that right wingers in blue cities in blue states tend to be a lot more radical than right wingers in like safe red states. I could see the blue, the hicklib, the kind of low class. I guess the low class like shitlib being like way more radical and feeling like whenever they have an opportunity to prove their bona fides, they're going to jump on it.
They aren't even radical. They're like radical is the kind of like anarchist thugs that became infamous in Seattle or whatever that was, where they established Chaz, like the guys who are actually going to throw hands and stuff. These guys would probably get the shit beat out of them out of their own side. Like they just like complained about like somebody's t-shirt after like 30 minutes of deliberation, with their like woman overlords at both places. Like they weren't even like really radical. They didn't even have the balls to like really, you know, approach us even in a closely aggressive way, or even try to like provoke us or anything. Like even as we were leaving, they weren't radical at all. They were just like these provincial like hicks. I mean, who have probably never left like the 5-mile radius where they were working and know nothing about the world. I mean, it was just really weird because we don't get bothered when we are rolling like that in any other city. And you know, amongst us, we've been to lots of different cities, especially with our guys, and like this doesn't really happen anywhere. I imagine there are other provincial cities like this where this does happen, but I mean, Richmond, it's like this isn't even like a place where battle lines would be. Like Richmond's a place where like we would just ignore. Like who fucking cares? It's like if things got really bad, like just leave it. It's a total like shithole. You know, like go to that museum we talked about. Go to that museum we talked about going to, abscond with Robert E. Lee's uniform, and then fucking like put the place to a torch the second time because like honestly it deserves it. Like Jesus.
Yeah, it was very funny. You know, after very meekly asking Thomas to step aside so that he could, you know, tell him this out of earshot of the rest of us, and Thomas is just like, nah, right here is fine. You know, he's like, oh, you know, we're not going to serve you anymore. You can finish this, but after that, and Thomas like, all right, whatever. And then as we were getting up to leave, Thomas called him a faggot.
He said it. I think he said it's a free country, faggot. And then the guy thanked him. He was like, "Thank you."
That totally happened.
That literally happened. It's like he thanked him for being called a faggot. Like he didn't even have a retort. I mean, it's bizarre.
Yeah, and then the second bar we were in, the guy tried to kind of fall back on proceduralism, being like, "Well, we have this, you know, this rule about," and Tom's like, "I'm not interested."
Also, there were people in that bar too who like absconded when we came in, and I don't even think most of them even saw Thomas's shirt. I saw he threw up like a YouTube short or wherever he posts like from his phone, and that is the place we also got removed from. It's like there was two couples in there. One was just like standing near the pool table, another was at the bar, and like by the time we left, they had like already left. It's like when they saw us come in, people acted like basically the entire like Nazi party had walked in, like just because we were like white dudes in suits. Like that was it. You know, on Thomas's show, actually, he made a really good point. Maybe it was Pete who made the point, but whoever made it was a good point. That maybe these people got like really spooked by the fact that we were there with Thomas, and because of the way we were dressed, like we lend a lot of like basically credibility to him by like associating with him. Basically, I don't know. Who knows if they even noticed? But it wasn't just him. It was like, you know, there was this girl who showed up as well who like literally like ran away after like 2 minutes of like looking at who was in the room. I've never been in a place where like well-dressed white dudes are like the scary thing. Even when we first walked into that first bar, before they had even seen Thomas, they were hostile to us because like we were walking up and half the group had already got there, and they were like, they told us this thing that like there's this, he said something about there being like a group of guys who look like you probably belong there, but he said it in kind of a hostile way, because I've had people do that to me before, but in like a we like you type of way, and like, you know, normally we garner respect from people when you walk around like really well dressed, but here it was like they like hated us before they even saw his Waffen SS shirt, you know. So
before they even saw his Waffen SS shirt, that is the kicker.
Which, as he pointed out, like didn't even have it doesn't even have any like swastikas on it. It's just like all of the symbols. Like it's also pretty deep. Like you have to actually like really know what that is. Like most people don't even know what the Waffen SS even is. It's like you have to be like inspecting people's t-shirts and then like applying your whatever. We like we said, we should have said we were like Ukraine fans or something. That would have been really funny.
Very funny.
But, you know, it's just fuck that place.
Yeah, the guy that asked.
Also, the fact that it happened like twice within like 30 minutes means it wasn't just like some one-off, like just the random like schmuck employees decided to just throw us out for not doing anything. These places were like dead, by the way. Like we were gonna spend
It
serious
was like
cash.
Friday,
In fact, already were.
Saturday night.
They took
and,
our
like,
their,
there's nothing going on.
yeah, it was like a weekend night, and like we had already started spending money and had tipped people, and it took them they took our money, but then they decided after that it wasn't okay. I guess, and it's really weird because it seems like they could have used the capital and just like threw us out. No one else was in there, and it's like even in the second place, like if people were uncomfortable, it's like we were spending lots of money. I don't know. It's really weird. I've never seen anything like that.
I mean, it reminds me of like Charlie, what you were saying about like people being afraid of the well-dressed white man. They should be, by the way. It made me think of what Sandy was saying like last week or 2 weeks ago about how like these TV brain rotted normies have been pumped so full with this propaganda that white men are the scary ones and that everyone else is like a big cuddly teddy bear with brown skin. It's interesting to kind of see it manifesting like before your eyes.
Yeah, no, I said something about that. Where it's like I was watching this white chick in the cafe, and like someone spoke to her, and she was horrified until she looked up and realized it was not a white dude, and then she perked up, and I was like, wow, that's an interesting reaction.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess Richmond. I mean, the confluence of factors, Richmond being kind of a backwater filled with universities.
Like even inside Virginia, it's kind of a backwater, It's like worth remembering.
Yeah, and you would expect that from, I guess this is my bias is showing, but you'd expect that from certain areas of like larger cities, but a provincial city, I'd figure that people would just be happy that they're making tips because like Charlie and you were saying, Sandy, there was no one in either of those bars. We were like the only people there on a Friday night. So it was just really bizarre. It was funny though.
No, it was a good lesson on like how ridiculous some of these places are. Like I've heard Thomas talk about these like provincial types on his podcast before, and I never really understood what he meant until like encountering this. Which as he pointed out, he's never encountered either. It's like even in Portland, it's like on some level, I think the other side garners you a certain amount of respect when you're like, with your cadre or whatever, and you have a position staked out. It's really weird for people to care that much about like purely the way you're dressed and that's it and nothing else.
Yeah, what is it? Like the outsiders or something? Like, get the hell out of here! But I mean, this is again. That was one of the things that I go to bring up, though, is that like people on our side are really quick to shit. Conversely, they're real quick to shit on like cities and that sort of thing. But like in my shit, just in the last year, I haven't been in New York. I haven't been to New York in several years, but I've been to Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Austin, New Orleans, Nashville, and never had a problem in any of those places. So like it's like weirdly, and this is kind of the cool factor because it actually is true that right wing is starting to be a little bit cool, or at least the aesthetics of right wing are starting to be a little bit cool. Like it just takes long. It takes longer to filter into the hinterland than it does to like say areas that are.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. It's like. I felt like I had teleported like 10 years back in time, like peak culture war, and these people are like absolutely on a knife edge. It's like it's really weird. It didn't connect at all with the actual
pandemic vibes, man. It was pandemic vibes.
Yeah, actually, the city kind of felt like the pandemic was still there, where like just nobody was there. I have a great time in cities. Everyone we go to, even the ones that would normally have like a bad rep, like Portland or something, no one messes with us there, and it's you have a great time there. And the fact that you've got like it's weird. It's like I've never felt like Portland or these other places are like hostile, but we actually kind of retreated to our Airbnb like rooftop area just because as like
really
almost a defensive measure.
Like, I feel like It's not a really retreat when you have the Airbnb that we had. It's like, okay, actually, this is a better place to party anyway.
Yeah, it was, but
not party explicitly by the rules of the Airbnb. Not party. We were not partying.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
we
they
were
were just
ordering tons of pizza.
Yeah, over a dozen dudes just hanging out, drinking, and ripping cigars. Yeah, that rooftop was actually pretty cool. I like Charlie, you were saying like how quiet it was, and I didn't really think of that. But yeah, it was absolutely silent. We were like the only people making noise because we were the only people there.
Yeah, especially given the alleyways we were connected to, it's like you'd expect to hear like the echoing, just people talking really loudly. I mean, it's probably like I doubt they probably have open container laws, so you're not going to get like the ruckus of New Orleans. But just being like dead quiet like that was totally bizarre. Other than the weird like helicopters that kept flying over with searchlights, I joked that they were gonna like dudes were gonna come down from zip lines on the helicopters and then politely ask Thomas to like leave or something. Like that was the vibe the place was sending. I can't believe it really felt like being actually in hostile territory. Like even in these other cities and places you would think were hostile, like I've never felt like, oh, I don't belong here, but I legit felt like I shouldn't be here, like in this place. This place doesn't want me to be here, and so I'll never go again. I mean, there's absolutely nothing there to see. I mean, I guess there's that one nice museum, but whatever. We can see that later after we win.
Whatever, we can see that later.
Yeah. We'll make our own museums anyway.
Yeah, and we'll just do smash and grab operations on the ones in hostile territory, like you said. No, I mean it's interesting you say that, Charlie, because even before this incident, the first day I was there, I went for a walk around the area to see what there was to see. And I was on edge the whole time because, again, the place was like smack dab in my uncanny valley. Like it's a city with no one in it. And like all the people who were there were looking pretty haggard.
I mean, it's
millennial core.
It's hard to overemphasize the no one in it part. Like you could basically cross any road whenever you want. There wasn't a lot of traffic. We maybe passed like 5 people like on the streets, even while you're waiting for like multiple minutes for deliveries or something. I mean, like you said, it felt like pandemic times because it's like, where the hell is everybody? This doesn't make any sense. We're in this enormous city with these giant skyscrapers in the historic part of like the downtown area, and there's just like fucking nobody here. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I wonder how that Jimmy John stayed open. Anyway, enough about
Richmond.
Richmond, yes. Going on to something a little bit more upbeat. There was a shooting at a mosque in San Diego.
Tell me more.
It seemed to me we're at this time and place where these sorts of things for me are big who cares, which again might just speak to my cynicism. But I guess we have a troon and a Hispanic dude who shot up this place of worship. Now, the very brief research I did into this made it kind of look like an 09A sort of thing. Whenever there's a troon and a non espousing right-wing talking points, I'm very suspicious of 09A. But yeah, I mean, what do you have? You guys spent any brain power on this one?
I mean, I didn't even really know what happened, but it sounds funny.
What was that, Mandrill?
This is the most groiperous thing I could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I mean, apparently in the guy's manifesto, the one on the right there, not the dude on the left, he was talking about being a white supremacist and how people would look down on him because he's not white, but he had his gig, and the person who shot him, who ended this we're skipping a picture here, but the person who shot him was a guy named Amin Abdullah, and he's a security guard who who puts the guy down. And apparently Amin Abdullah is a big fan of Hitler, which this is allegedly his Twitter or Instagram or whatever the hell social media this is. So what we've got now is, I don't even know how to succinctly put this. We've got nons who are white supremacists on both sides of the violence. I don't even know where we go from here, boys. Apparently none of you do either.
I mean, did any of the intended target group actually die?
I don't know. I know apparently the guy brought some gas cans that allegedly had the SS bolts scrawled on them, which is actually what the guy in Richmond. Yeah, there we go. I mean, so he got himself a nice sticker to slap on there, or it was added in post. Who knows? But this was the symbol that was on Thomas.
Oh, I saw this picture. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he went to the Nazi gas can store and picked that up. Like, what even is this?
Yeah, I mean, one wonders why he didn't. Why he didn't go to a synagogue.
I mean, that's a good point. Why shoot up a Muslim thing? It doesn't even make sense. Like from a weird,
it doesn't make sense any angle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like from a weird Nazgul vortex thing. Like, why would you be shooting up your pals in Gaza if they're your bros against international Zog?
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of what we're talking about with the last week not really having much going on. This kind of, I mean, there mass shooting in the United States, no Americans harmed.
That's great. Let's go with that.
Oh God. All right. Well, shine on, you crazy diamonds. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Let's look at the super chats. Solid Snake 1964, and he assures us that he is the real Solid Snake. For $10. Evening, gents. In Tucker's monologue, there's a video of Galleron's victory party, and I noticed the lack of anyone younger than 40 in the room. Love our good boomers, but Day of the Pillow, anyone? And he sends us a salute.
Well, then there's nobody left in the room except the under 40s who are all belligerently homosexual. So, as bad as the boomers are, count your blessings because they'll be gone one day.
Yeah, can we get a real Americans? Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the boomers, there's a much larger discussion that's been going on for years now, and what do we do when the boomers are gone? Because I don't know, maybe we can actually start getting something done. That's an angle I never hear anyone talk about. That maybe we can actually get some a real political party. All right, you guys have heard of AIPAC, right? The Anti-Zionist Political Action Committee.
Yeah.
So I mean, so long as they don't
name
get
it AIPAC.
What's that?
The fuck.
Yeah,
I guess it's fitting for a Republican, name, but
what else are you gonna name something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it can be that guy from Tombstone, being a part of the anti-Chinese league. It's a little too on the nose for our modern day.
Anyway, you were saying
sensibilities. But yeah, I mean, once they're gone, assuming that the guys in AIPAC don't get drone striked, which is not a good assumption. But maybe once they're gone, things can start, going our way. Who knows? That's why we're here. We're doing stuff, right?
I mean, the tricky part is we're also going to be, racially outnumbered at that point too. So it's, maybe we are now, but in terms of actual people who actually participate in elections, that's going to be the other problem on the horizon. So
I think that demographic tipping point is when elections no longer matter, and our people are basically going to be forced into the position of either you accept demographic reality and continue playing the electoral game despite obvious disadvantage, or you come up with a slightly different strategy.
I mean, in terms of actual democratic politics, there's probably one more presidential election that's going to matter in the sense that we can actually, vote for our interests, and that's going to be 2028, because by 2036 the boomers are going to be mostly gone. I mean, they're mostly gone already, actually, more than half of them, and
they're retired. But yes, yeah, they're mostly gone.
No, I mean literally dead. Like more than half of the boomer generation is dead right now, and that's only going to accelerate by 2036. I mean, we're probably not going to be able to outnumber the nons in pretty much any election, particularly presidential election. So it's like 2032 is probably the last one where even thinking in those terms is going to have any bearing at all.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a larger question, but when we don't have the electoral swing of the boomers in this kind of racial divide, what we're going to get is a bunch of nons passing laws to disenfranchise whites, to take all of our holdings. Any wealth that a white person might have had is going to be considered forfeit, because in their kind of ontology, the only way that white people have ever gotten anything is by stealing it from non-whites.
Right.
And so, like, the reason I say this is kind of a way for us to get things done is it cements the illegitimacy of the federal government. It's when that happens, is when the federal government just no longer matters.
There's another angle to this, which is that point is when the federal government realizes, because the mid-2030s is when the budgetary crisis is supposed to always happen. But anyway, so there's a real angle where USG as an entity, regardless of who's actually in charge, I mean, assuming there's still at least residual, white minority rule, you will have the interest of the state is such that, cracking down on immigration or, restricting material benefits to non-citizens and non-whites who don't contribute to the tax system, that would be something that USG would actually consider.
I mean, that'd be an interesting turn of events.
Yeah.
I mean, let me put it this way: USG is going to realize that it's betraying the majority of its tax base, and if it wants to survive as an entity, it needs to get good with that tax base.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is if we're talking about the USG in the future being controlled mostly by nons at a federal level, we're talking about people who don't really have that kind of long-term thinking. So I don't know if that's going to be a consideration of theirs. It's just going to be like, we're already in the looting phase, right? Once all the gold is out of the treasury, they're just going to start tearing up the floorboards, and there's not going to be any thought to restocking, trying to restock any treasure to take. So I don't even think that that's likely. I don't think there's any future in which we get like a resurgence of people being like, oh, our tax base is all dying and going away. They're just going to leave.
Yeah, that's so right. They're
going to go
on to the next husk,
Yeah.
Like, what do you care about it?
I mean, and again, like, this sounds kind of doom and gloom, but like, this is the environment we're in, and
it's pretty doom and gloom. Yeah,
it is.
The way it is.
But these epochal changes leave a lot of room for a new greatness to occur. So America is nothing if not great.
Yeah, and also, I mean, why would you even want to be like in charge of that problem anyway? Like, why would you want to be the Congress at that point? This is what I don't get about people who are focused on these, like, a lot of people, some podcasters campaign vociferously like against Massey, right? And it's like, why do you care about this so much? Why do you seem to like want to have to own this problem and, elect the not even the people you like, but what is the point of focusing energy on the federal Congress? It's going to have unbelievably challenging problems that are going to come down on these ethnic lines. There's been no progress made in literally 11 years of Trump in changing the orientation of the Congress at all. It's like, you think after 11 years of the Trump era and the Congress is indistinguishable from the Bush era, that like somehow you're going to like get your influence in there and like start passing laws that are going to like solve the problem, even though at that point your ethnic opponents are never going to allow you to do that anyway, because they will be able to control their own voting blocks. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense when you actually look at where things have gone and what the timeline is. Like, again, since Trump has been around, like 11 years, 10 years like formally in office or temporarily exiled, it's like there's just there's clearly no path to aligning this thing to do anything other than what it does under the civil rights regime.
Yeah, I mean, that's when I talked about this on Pete. The only thing I really talked about was like, he was like asking me over and over, is like, what can be the only thing that's actually going to break this regime is the total breakdown of its rule set. You know what I mean? Like the things that govern it are just going to have to stop working totally, and that's the only way to really crack the egg open and restore agency. This thing's just going to have to break.
Yeah, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, is that this is liberating in a way, right? Like it shows us that there's a path forward. It shows us like the path that we're inevitably going to be walking. And that's a lot more than previous generations who went through this sort of thing got. They didn't get the forewarning that comes with all of human knowledge at our fingertips. So it's bleak, but this is probably the best time in human history to have to experience something like this.
I mean, the only way anyone should care about the Congress at this point is like, how is my state legislature going to protect me from the federal legislature? Like, there's no like, oh, I need to like get my influence or my like friends elected to the federal Congress. It's like the only association you have with it is a negative one, where it's an entity that's going to become less relevant, but potentially more interested in taking your property or making your life harder as it tries to solve its own intractable problems. So, maybe your state legislature might be interested in protecting its citizens from this, fraudulent, money laundering entity, basically.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I wasn't so happy about I'm happy about it, I guess, like, sure, whatever, Ken Paxton, go to Congress. But I mean, like, yeah, state governments are inevitably more important than they ever have been. And so, like, the natural tendency to want to like escalate your talent to the national delegation may be misguided. I'm just an old Calhounite, though.
Yeah. So, well, now we're stuck. Let me see if I can bring up the super duper chats. Are we looking at super duper chats yet? Yeah, we were. Which one were we on?
I don't know. Start with the last one you remember.
I'll start at the last one from Pete Budapest 5201. Read the boomers. Is it just me, or are they getting more cruel as they get older? Have you seen these commencement addresses lately? They're seemingly giddy about the kids having no future. I mean, definitely some of them are, like, obviously not all boomers, but it's no exaggeration.
Not all boomers.
It's no exaggeration that there is a certain class of boomer who seems excited about the fact that like their would-be inheritors and the ones they're obligated to are going to get nothing.
It do be like
oh, Hugh Hewitt was the Jew that made the comment about that. Hugh Hewitt was the one I was talking about, not Levin, not like I get the names all mixed up. Thank you, Diogenes, some name I can't pronounce from Twitter.
Diogenes.
Diogenes Teufelsdruck. Yes.
Diogenes.
All right. Did we already blast through Thrasher Thectic?
I just read the last super chat.
We
'cause I
started at
wasn't
the
sure
end
where
because we
were.
couldn't remember where we ended.
Okay. So we're going keep up the good work, Mental Gen. We are going to win. Thank you, Thrasher. This is a fact. The arc of the universe may be long, but it bends towards total OGC victory. Seasider 01 for $10. Did they ask Thomas to turn his shirt inside out with a salute? Yeah, I mean, it was very high school rules in there, but they didn't ask. The only thing that was said about it is I was at the bar and the guy asked me, he goes, "What's with that guy's SS shirt?" And I said, "That's his style." He goes, "His style is SS." I'm like, "Yeah, every man's got to have a style."
Yeah, everybody's got their thing. Everybody's got their showstopper. Thomas's is a swastika.
Yeah, and he
There
just
wasn't
stared
even
at
a
me
swastika
silently.
though.
No.
There literally was no swastika. But yeah, I was on the tail end of that, and I sensed something was wrong. But that was a funny retort.
Yeah, I mean,
How do you even answer a question like that? It's
That's the right answer, though. That's actually the fucking right answer. You're the same age as I am, though. Like we're both just like, whatever, dude. Like he wants to wear it, like whatever he wants to wear is fine with me. He's cool and he tips, bro. Like hang out.
Yeah. He's gonna treat you right. Are you gonna be upset about this? And the answer to that is yes. All right, guys. We blew through the quote unquote stories for the last 2 weeks, and we have drunk deep of our patrons' largesse. Thank you. We appreciate all of our patrons. You keep us afloat. You keep us doing what we're doing.
You keep the slot flowing.
Oh yeah, the trough is always full for you guys. So we'll go around, do the shilling. Charlemagne, what you got, buddy?
Nothing.
Based. Sandy, lay it on us.
Go to my Twitter account and buy my book, which many people, including many girls, I think is really good. It's poetry. If you don't want to do that, go buy my Substack, Ecologica Americana. I've had a bottle of wine while we were doing this, and was like, wow.
Was it red or white?
It's only. What type of bachelor would I be if I were drinking anything but red wine alone?
Well, I mean, you were just talking about how women love your poetry, so anything's game.
That is true, but if I started drinking white wine by myself, they would sense it, and the poetry would no longer work.
Ah, now that's the deep esoterica.
That's true. It's who you are when nobody's watching that matters.
That's true. That's why I always keep a bottle of gin nearby.
Yeah.
I do have a signed copy of this poetry book, and I enjoy it as well. And though many of you have never seen my face, I am not a woman masquerading as a man. So, Mandrill, send us home, buddy.
All right. Go check out all of my links, I guess. Go join the OGC. That's the most important thing.
That's sage advice. Mandrill puts out really good articles, very, very deep stuff. And the OGC is your arc in the coming storm. If you
we should make that T-shirt. I'm going to design that T-shirt as soon as we get off here. Your arc in the coming storm. And then I'm gonna hard code our Alps code onto the T-shirt itself.
That's awesome. Yeah, have it on a QR code or something. All right. Yeah. I just echo what Mandrill said. OGC, all the way, every day, getting her done. Join us on Monday for American Spirits, where like the actual stuff that you need to know is being talked about. That's like, if you're going to listen, we've got 3 shows that we do every week. You're going to listen to any one show, make it American Spirits. the chapter house, where if you are in the organization, you can learn a little bit more about your brothers and have some ammunition to bring to the national event to make fun of them with, which is the real purpose of the chapter house. For Pony Express Radio and the Old Glory Club, Not Me, Not You, thank you for joining us.
When I pass on my good genes to my sons, they're going to join the Old Glory Club.